Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the 2% Better Health podcast. I am your host, Carrie Bennett, and today we have such a treat to talk to Roudy Nassif. Roudy is the founder of a really excellent blue blocking glasses company called VivaRays. He also is a co-instructor with me for the Quantum Biology Collective certification course in quantum health and circadian biology. He is a wealth of knowledge in this topic, and it's so exciting that we get to have this conversation today. And like most people, I think, who get into quantum health and quantum biology, circadian biology, there is typically a story, a reason behind it. So Roudy, would you be so kind? Well, welcome to the show first. Would you be so kind as to share what got you into this pathway? Biology and circadian rhythm.
Yeah, I've often reflected on this. And I think my story began when I was a little kid. I was diagnosed with ADHD and I suffered from headaches, agitation, and inability to focus. And then growing up into my 20s, I turned into a night owl and I stayed up very late feeling wired and stimulated, only to lack the energy, focus, and motivation the following day. And eventually across the years, day after day, this led me to deep depression, chronic fatigue, and complete disorientation. And to be honest, it was really sabotaging my professional life as an engineer. I remember that my memory and my cognition were really suffering and they were very low. I mean, I can hardly read few pages from a book and I would feel that my brain is getting fried and exhausted. And my days were like a roller coaster emotionally. I mean, the daily emotional roller coasters made my relationships very bitter and very difficult to deal with. And at the time, Carrie, the future to me was a very gloomy and a very dark place. And I was desperately trying to look for a solution in order to feel better. However, I honestly felt very tired and exhausted going from one holistic doctor to another and extremely overwhelmed with all the different health opinions about what I should be doing. I first visited some conventional doctors, which advised me to take prescription drugs. And thankfully, I completely refused. And then I jumped into this journey of experimenting with so many different diets. I started going from one diet to another, taking different supplements. I was doing therapy with a therapist, and I was experimenting with so many different meditation techniques and physical exercise techniques. And while all of these really positively influenced my life, unfortunately, I was still stuck with the same cycle of feeling wired at night and waking up feeling exhausted and depressed. So, one specific event in my life changed all of this. I spent 6 weeks on a rural farm in Quebec camping, and I was exposed only to natural light during the day and candles and firelight during the evening. And within a matter of 3 days, something miraculous happened. I started winding down in the evening, feeling mellow and relaxed, sleeping shortly after the sunset, to then wake up before the sunrise for the first time in my life, feeling refreshed, rested, and motivated. I literally went from feeling almost close to suicidal, foggy-headed, and completely fatigued to feeling alive, motivated, and so focused. I remember spending my days outside, farming, dancing, cooking, hiking, swimming in lakes. But what's most remarkable is that I was able to study at a very different level. I was going through books at a time and studying quantum biology and circadian rhythm. And honestly, I was able to achieve in a day more than I would in a month, literally.
Amazing.
And that blew my mind. I mean, how did that magic happen? I didn't change my diet. I didn't exercise. And I wasn't meditating in a different way than I would. And that completely blew my mind. So after this event, I thought to myself that I would never come back to my old state. But unfortunately, that wasn't the truth, because when I moved back from the farm to the city, and at the time I was living in Toronto, and within a matter of few weeks, I fell back into my old terrible routine of staying up late and waking up feeling tired. And I went into the downward spiral of depression again. And at this point, I was really contemplating whether it was my light environment that was triggering all of this in my life. And this led me to a 7-year journey of studying quantum biology, circadian rhythm, and anything I could study about light. And I was consulting the world's leading expert in this field. And it's truly beautiful and remarkable what I learned. I think I learned the most basic thing that we all know as kids, that we are light beings, and that physical reality itself is but light that is vibrating at a lower speed. And this means that not only light shapes and molds every aspect of our life, but it is the nucleus of life itself. And to just put it in a simple way, the quality of the light that you expose yourself to will determine the quality of your sleep, mood, focus, and productivity. And in our modern world, we're getting very little healthy light, and we're bombarded by junk artificial light all the time.
Wow, that is such an amazing journey. And what I found especially fascinating about that story is that you recovered good quality sleep in 3 days of living with the cycles of nature, which I think for a lot of people who have had decades like you, or, years and years of going to bed late, insomnia, inability to wake up, start their day, that depression that happens, that's really, really encouraging to hear that in 3 days, potentially, of reconnecting with nature, things can change and things can shift. So can you, I guess, explain where, with, your background in terms of your experience, but also the quantum aspect of the light biology, about how that happens? What are we tuning to? What are things that we can do to help, reinforce this just natural cycle that is inside of us?
Yeah, I think, every time I talk to someone about sleep and the quality of our feelings when we wake up, how rested we feel, I tell people that getting a great night's sleep on a consistent basis and waking up feeling refreshed and energized doesn't happen by chance, like so many people believe. It actually happens by design, and it is governed by a law that is called the circadian law, or the circadian rhythm. And circadian comes from the Latin word circa and dia, which means approximately a day or 24 hours. And technically, this rhythm exists in all plants, animals, and humans. We all undergo an unescapable daily change in our environment, which happens by law. And the day must become night, and the night must turn into day again. And in order for us to deal with this daily change in our environment, we have had to develop an internal clock that controls the timing of our daily functions and daily activities to the optimal time of the day or the night within a 24-hour cycle. I find it very amusing to think of plants, because plants, for instance, they have light sensors that enable them to anticipate the sun's position in the sky so that they can turn their leaves in the right direction throughout the whole day. But not only this, they also turn their leaves down at night when the sun is not present. And this enabled them to maximize energy intake as well as efficiency. And I think also as humans, we have a similar technology in our eyes that enable us to detect the sun's position in the sky. And it has been discovered that there are certain cells called melanopsin ganglion cells that are designed to register the sun's position in the sky. And these sensors are most sensitive to the blue and green light, and they are much less sensitive to red light. So when the sun is out, melanopsin ganglion cells register the inclining blue and green light in the sky, and it it sends a signal to our central clock in the brain to send different, to transmit different messages throughout the body so that we can start feeling focused, productive, alert, and ready for the day. And in the same way, as the sun sets, there's a decline in these frequencies of colors. And this also sends a signal to the body that it's time to start preparing for a restful night's sleep, where we can truly heal, rejuvenate, and wake up the following morning feeling light and ready for the day. So I think that when we are in alignment with the sun, this magnificent ball of electromagnetic frequency that literally fuels our life and the life of everything around us, we will start operating in a zone that I call HIME. And HIME stands for high impact, minimum effort. And when our body is operating in this zone called HIME, we will perform at least 10 times better any function or any activity that the body engages with. And for instance, if we go to sleep, we're gonna sleep better, we're gonna heal deeper, and we're gonna wake up feeling much lighter and ready and refreshed. And I also think that this principle of least action governs everything in physics, from the path of the planets to the path of the pulse of light. And you know, the principle of least action means the minimum of energy multiplied by the minimum of time. And this means that when we are performing a task, or when our body is engaged in any task like digestion or thinking, you know, it's supposed to use the minimum amount of energy and take the shortest amount of possible time. And this is the effortless way, which I really enjoy, and I'm always thinking about it. So I think this circadian clock that we have in our brain is this beautifully wired technology that synchronizes our body's daily activities with the sun. And just like a software that you might use for productivity, like Monday.com, for instance, which enable you to allocate different tasks for different times of the day so that you can enhance your productivity. I think our circadian clock is this wired software within us that enable our body to allocate different tasks to the optimal time of performing those tasks within the HIME. And this means that we're going to use much less energy, and we're going to finish whatever we need to finish in much less time.
That is brilliant. Absolutely. And I've experienced that myself. I feel like because I have such a more powerful relationship or close relationship with nature and natural light, I do feel like exactly what you're saying, that much more productive, that much more focused. Sleep is that much easier to come by. You know, all of what you are saying rings so true. So where do we start, Roudy? Like, what does it look like for us if, let's say that we're really talking to people who are struggling with their sleep, they're night owls, right? I have a lot of people who have reached out to me. It's like, well, I'm a night owl, right? I've been a night owl my whole life. There's no way that I could possibly fall asleep before midnight. Is it possible to recover the circadian rhythm of a night owl? And if so, where does that start?
Well, from my experience, I would say definitely yes. Well, I think we need to first start with the concept of self.
Sure.
Because most night owls have a concept of themselves that they are night owls, and that this is how they are supposed to function. And if they believe it to be, so it's gonna be. So really, they need to look at others maybe who have been night owls and who were able to shift from that lifestyle, so that they could start believing that they are not night owls, yet they have adopted a lifestyle that have led them to associate with what we call a night owl. For most night owls nowadays, they are stuck in a lifestyle of getting exposed to a lot of artificial lights at night, and thinking that their nighttime zone is the time when they can achieve things. And technically, they spend a lot of time around artificial lights, feeling super wired and stimulated. They might achieve few things, they get satisfied, but then they wake up the second morning very late, they skip the sunrise, and they wake up with a very depressive mood, and feeling exhausted and really not wanting to start the day, kind of like wanting to escape whatsoever the startle of a day. And this makes perfect sense because it's working in complete disharmony with our natural circadian rhythm. And coming back to the effortless way, if you have a technology that is million years old, that is very subconscious, by the way, and it's much older than our eyes and our visions, why would you ever want to go against this technology? This technology is nature's way for you to tap into your highest performance and your highest ability to achieve. And when you start doing things against this technology, it's like trying to swim in a river against the flow of the water. It's going to be exhausting. It's going to be very tiring. So I guess the first step for a night owl is really to work on their mindset of stopping to think that they are night owls, and to get the help that they need, maybe from an outsider, to help them create new affirmations, create new visualization of what it's like to be a non-night owl. And this will require some imagination, because if someone is stuck with the level of consciousness of a night owl, they don't know what it feels like to live outside of that. So maybe observing someone who's really doing it well and imagining themselves to be doing similar things as that person, this is a really first important step. And now as they start working on their mental diet, the second very important aspect, which is going also to provide them all the energy that they need in order to imagine something new or think something new, because thinking something new and imagining something new requires energy. And if your environment is depleting you from energy, it's going to be much more difficult. And this is where you could combine quantum biology to the inner quantum technology of the mind. So you start harnessing the power of sunlight and darkness so that you could have enough energy to think new thoughts. So for a night owl, they definitely want to start avoiding artificial light after the sunset. And it's going to be difficult at first. It's something new that they're trying. They need the right tools as well in order to do so. So if they're going outside and they have no control over the light in their environment, they will need a lens technology system that is engineered to block the wrong frequencies of light at the wrong time of the day, like the VivaRays glasses. And once they are in an environment where they can control their lighting, they want to start dimming those lights and potentially learning some breathing exercises that will help them to switch from a sympathetic activated state to a parasympathetic state, really breathing slowly and deeply, maybe like the 477. There's different techniques to activate that. And really starting to think, what can I do in the evening that will induce more relaxation, that will help me to wind down and slow down? And there's a lot of things that you can do. Now, for the night owl, they're going to think, well, there's nothing I can do other than watching television, maybe. But and truth is that there's plenty of things that you can do that will help you to do this. Taking a hot shower, maybe taking a bath with relaxing music, putting some relaxing meditations, reading a relaxing book, spending time with loved ones with an ambient light. And all of these things will start helping them to wind down in the evening, so much so that they would start want to go to bed a bit earlier. And it's not going to happen right away. Now, the key is that the second morning, when they wake up, really they need to find that motivation within themselves to go outside right away and watch the sun, no matter what time it was that they woke up. I don't want them first to force themselves to get 3, 4, 5 hours of sleep. It's important to get the sleep that they need. But as soon as they wake up in the morning, go outside, go barefoot on the ground, connect with the magnetic field of the earth, because this is an aspect that also signals to our body about the time of the day, knowing that it fluctuates from day to night, and get as much sunlight as possible in your eyes, because the sunlight will build up all the neurotransmitters and the chemicals in your brain that you need to start building a new reality for yourself, a much more happy, productive and creative reality. And you want to build a momentum, right? Like, don't be harsh on yourself. 3-4 days, maybe do what it might be a good idea for you to do what I did, which is going and camping at a farm for 3 days and living this lifestyle, really, putting yourself in a lifestyle where you have no other choice. You're not going to have electricity at night. You're not going to have Wi-Fi around. So you're going to really be immersed in your own light, and it's going to be transformational. So if you can do this, go for it.
That's excellent, right? Yeah, I would love it, frankly, if everyone did a long camping trip every year as a way, just even those of us who do feel like we take care of our circadian rhythms. I think that connection with nature and the true connection with the day-night cycle is so important. I think we all should do like a 7-day camping trip. But that being said, I know, okay, so like there's like my tech people out there who, that's what they do. They stare at a screen all day. And so, like you said, I think it's really important and really key to highlight the fact that you told them that when they do wake up after they've, tried to create a dim evening environment, when they've used potentially some really quality lens technology to mitigate the light exposure into their eyes, they did something calming, almost like a baby routine. Like there's a reason why we give babies a full routine before bed, right? It's not like we just say we're playing with them and then we go, okay, go to sleep. Like we need the same thing. We need this own transition into calm and that parasympathetic state. But what you said was beautiful, because you told them that they didn't have to force themselves to get up and see the sunrise. It's just about starting to establish this routine of get that morning bright exposure into your eyes. Go outside, get whatever time of day it is, tell your brain clock what time of day it is. And over time, it's going to be a little more gradual, but over time, that combination of dim and calm and dark into the evening, like as you get into nighttime, and brightness in the morning, that in and of itself will start to sync us to nature's 24-hour clock, so that it'll be easier and easier to wake up early. Would that be a true statement?
Yeah, definitely. And this is it has to do a lot with our temperature minimum as well. So if they happen to be a person who wakes up around 10 a.m. because they're a night owl, as an example, probably their temperature minimum is going to be around 8:30, and they have this beautiful window of 4 hours from the time of their temperature minimum. Or you could think, if we want to put it in a simpler way, maybe 3 hours window or 2 hours window after they wake up. And if they go outside and expose themselves to a lot of bright photonic light from sunlight, and they increase their body temperature up within that time frame of 2 hours when they wake up, basically they're gonna shift their circadian rhythm, and they're gonna advance their circadian rhythm, so much so that they would wanna naturally go to bed earlier in the evening and wake up earlier the second day. Now, the important point is, once you start doing that, do not mess it up by not going to bed when your body gives you the sign to go to bed at night. And do not replace a dim lighting environment at night with stimulating screens and whatnot. And if you do, put your glasses on so that you could allow your body's technology to do what it does best. And it's gonna work it for you, literally. You're not gonna have to do much effort. You keep doing this, you keep waking up, getting sunlight, and exposing yourself to a lot of bright light in the morning, and eventually you're going to get to a point where you're aligned with the solar cycle.
That's excellent. So there's some gold that I want to kind of pick out for people there of what you said. This idea of the fact that we have multiple zeitgeibers, right? Yeah, I know you're familiar with that term, but for those who aren't familiar with that term, a zeitgeiber is just timekeeper. It's a word meaning timekeeper. And obviously we have a main timekeeper in our body, which is that clock in our brain, that circadian clock, the suprachiasmatic nucleus that's in tune to the light frequencies. But I think it's beautiful, Roudy, that you're highlighting the fact that body temperature is another zeitgeiber. Ambient temperature is a zeitgeiber. The magnetic fluctuations of the earth is a zeitgeiber. When we eat, when we exercise, move, all of those are ways that we can reinforce our body clock. So far you've said getting that bright light, doing something that potentially elevates our body temperature, touching the earth, all three things pretty easy to do first thing when we wake up, to kind of do those three things that help reinforce that body time or that clock in our brain and in our body. What about eating? Do you have any recommendations about when to eat to kind of support this whole process?
Yeah, so just like we have a central clock in the brain that is reset by light, and just like the light that is entering our eyes is very important for our rhythm, also the first bite of the day and the last bite of the day will also reset the peripheral clocks of our organs. And if you think about it, this makes perfect sense, because at the time when your central clock registers that it's nighttime and sends a signal to the rest of the body to start rejuvenating and repairing and healing so that the kitchen is closed, what happens then if you decide to open the fridge and start eating? Well, if you didn't have this very strong stimuli that will override the information of light, you wouldn't be able to digest that food and you will technically die. And this makes perfect sense why food information also and food timing is very, very important. And I think is at least as important, if not much more important than what you eat. So timing your food for the right time of the day is, in my opinion, what people should start doing before thinking, what do I eat and which diet I get on? Get on the circadian diet of really setting yourself a date with yourself every day that you want to have your first meal at this exact time and your last meal at this exact time, and keep preparing. And at first it's going to feel weird and it's going to feel difficult, but then within a matter of a few days you're going to realize that you're really loving yourself enough and giving yourself a phenomenal favor. Because again, if we come back to this Heim window, which is a high impact minimum effort, your organs will really love you if you can help them anticipate when the food is going to enter your body, because it's going to allow your organs to be in their Heim zone, and it's going to enable those organs to do whatever they need to do to prepare for the meal that is going to enter your body. And also they will also know that during that time when they know you're not going to be eating because you're very predictable and you're following a rhythm, then they're going to go and do a lot of great things for you. They're going to start healing, repairing, rejuvenating. If you're someone who is suffering from digestive issues, like try it out and you'll see that your digestive tract will heal itself, because you're giving it a predictable time for it to do this work. And when you're not predictable, your digestive tract will be working on these healing aspects of your gut, and then out of a sudden, unpredictably, you start eating food. It needs to leave everything behind and go to digest that food, and this is very stressful on your organs. So really, like, deciding when is the best time for you that work with your lifestyle to have your first bite in the morning, and setting a date with yourself and with your food, making it a ritual, and deciding on when will work for you to have the last bite of the day, taking in consideration that you want to at least keep a window of 3 to 4 hours before bedtime, having your stomach being empty. And there's a lot of reasons for this, but one of which is that your digestive system and your organs are not wired to work efficiently at night, and they're not in their Heim zone, so to speak.
Yeah, that's perfect. I think that's excellent advice. And people find it very weird that I have, a master's degree in applied clinical nutrition. And I hate telling people what to eat, at least at first. I think you hit the nail on the head. When we eat and how we sync that up with the light matters 1,000 times more, at least at first, as opposed to what we eat. So while there's talk all over, I don't like to get into the argument. Carnivore, keto, vegan, vegetarian, like there's so many arguments, and people are, I think, short-sighted in the fact that what is food except information, right? And what about, and the timing of when we eat is information about our day. And so if we can start to just view it as how we're providing our body and our brain with information in the right optimum time, right? In the best time possible. I love that. That is really where things start to shift. And it's less about, okay, cut out all of this. And people have a hard time, flipping, oh, well, but I love sugar, but I love beer, whatever it is. People have such a hard time addressing that. But if we tell them, okay, keep it consistent, 10 a.m. and 4 p.m., like whatever your particular fueling times are, keep it consistent, keep it early enough in the day, because after about 7 p.m., like you said, the gut clock and everything, the gut motility, the gut secretion of juices, all of that starts to slow down. So if we can time our fueling window in an appropriate circadian time, I don't even want to touch someone's food at first, because I feel like a ton of profound shifts can happen in their body's ability to heal and their body's ability to thrive simply by focusing on that alone.
Yeah, definitely. And it's important to mention, because many people misinterpret what it means to eat the last bite of the day. And they will think of it this big, massive dinner, but then every snack that they have, every cup of wine that they drink afterwards, they do not count it. So just to make it clear, the last bite or sip of the day means anything other. So basically anything other than water counts. And you want to make sure that you calculate that time or that window of fasting from the time where you have your last bite, and not from the time you start eating. So if you start eating dinner at 4 and you finish dinner at 5 is the time when you start calculating the window of fasting.
Yep, that's perfect. Thank you for clarifying, because I think I do get a lot of, does this count in my fast? Does this break my fast? It's like, if we're talking about it from a circadian, like a peripheral clock, a gut clock perspective, pretty much anything will start those gut clocks. And pretty much, and so if there's anything that contains any form of nutrient that the body senses, it's going to turn on your gut clocks. And as soon as you turn on your gut clocks, that generally indicates it's day, right? It's daytime. And then when we turn off our gut clocks, it indicates that it's nighttime. So that's really, really helpful for you to bring that up. Now, let's talk, right? Because there's so much talk now about this artificial light at night, and it does more than impact sleep. So sleep is huge, right? I think making sure that we recognize that mitigating this artificial light at night really, really helps us get restorative sleep, which is where we reverse age our bodies, frankly. But what else, Roudy? Like, what else do you want to highlight? Because there's so many associations with artificial light at night and negative health consequences. So what do you think is important for people to recognize?
Yeah, there's a lot. It extends into a lot of different areas. We're going to touch base on few of them today.
Sure.
Maybe we can talk first about artificial light and the stress hormone cortisol. There's a German scientist called Dr. Fritz from back in the 1970s. He was running some studies, and he showed how the stress hormone cortisol was significantly higher when sitting under artificial blue light. And see, the thing is, cortisol at night, the stress hormone, should be around 1 microgram per deciliter. Part of my story is that when I first did my cortisol test, it was at night, it was around 10 microgram per deciliter. And that was the time when I was a night owl. This is one of the reasons why night owls are night owls, because their cortisol is extremely elevated at night. And this is extremely, scarily very common. So many people have their cortisol peaking at night. And as a result, they sleep terribly. And this also takes a toll on their morning cortisol. So it doesn't end there, because your morning cortisol should be around 16 microgram per deciliter. So for instance, a healthy person who has a very healthy natural rhythm, their cortisol will start increasing slightly, probably a few minutes even before they open their eyes. And this will start alerting their body that it's time to get going. It increases their core temperature up, their heart picks up a few more beats per minute, their blood pressure rises, and their muscles start tensing, preparing them to be alert, productive, and ready for the day. Now, the problem is that when you are continuously bombarded by artificial light at night, you're chronically secreting a lot of cortisol. And this will start depleting the cortisol reserve in your adrenal gland, which means that when you wake up in the morning, you're not going to have enough cortisol, this healthy pulse that you need in order to awaken and to shift into optimal wakefulness. And this is when people start reaching out for all kind of stimulants and coffee. They struggle with momentum in the morning. They feel sluggish and they need something so that they could get going. And they go and they start drinking coffee and different other stimulants. And unfortunately, this is unsustainable, because in any approach you're trying to apply in your life, I think it's very wise for us to first think in terms of sustainability. Is this something sustainable? Am I going to be able to sustain myself over the years, so much so that I'm a vibrant, radiant, and happy person 20, 25 years from now, 30 years from now? And this approach of reaching out to stimulants to override this this harmony in the cortisol cycle is completely unsustainable and will lead people to burning out and suffering. So that's one of the things.
That's excellent. I was listening to, I know Dr. Alexander Wunsch, right? He does a lot of talks on light. And something he said was in one of his talks that he gave in 2016 was very fascinating. And it's this idea that it's there's hormone centers in the brain that are on a seesaw, right? And so we've got the ones that are basically stimulated by cortisol production from the pituitary gland. And then we're meant to have it when those are elevated, then melatonin is meant to be down, and vice versa. When the melatonin is elevated, the pituitary hormones are supposed to be down. And when we get that artificial light at night, it's so disjointing to the brain, because in some sense we recognize that it's nighttime, right? And we want to elevate melatonin, but then at the same time we're getting this drive to elevate our cortisol because of the blue light stimulus from that, and it creates such a crazy dysfunctional seesaw. And so that one of the best things that I have noticed when I suffered from adrenal fatigue, because adrenal fatigue, right? I'm going to put that in quotes. One of the things that I most noticed was that when I got my light environment right, my cortisol and melatonin naturally even themselves out, right? I was high cortisol in the morning, which I should have been. I was high melatonin at night. In the meantime, it didn't matter how many adaptogens I took to either suppress cortisol at this time or raise it at that time. It didn't matter. My light environment is really what regulated that. And talk about so much better sleep at night and so much better energy in the morning. So the light totally matters when it comes to things like cortisol and the pituitary hormones. But what about, I've also heard, Roudy, that, blood sugar regulation, diabetes, that is something that's also impacted by artificial light at night. So, there's claims, right? And I'm reading through these studies, maybe you've read through more, about how artificial light at night can by itself dysregulate blood sugar and lead to things like metabolic syndrome or diabetes.
Yeah, I love what you said also. Before I answer this, I really love what you said about melatonin and cortisol. And to me, I love contemplating the relationship of these two hormones, really like this yin and yang aspect, and they're opposite pairs of the same thing, right? And in anything in life, the balance of anything in life and the success in anything in life will really depend on the balanced interchange between polar opposites. And when those interchanges are balanced and rhythmic, they create beauty, they create love, they create health. Now, I think the problem is that when it comes down to melatonin and cortisol, most people are completely off this balanced rhythmic interchange between those two hormones or those two aspects of the same thing. And it really boils down to not living a balanced rhythmic life, a balanced rhythmic life in relation to the light and dark cycles. Because really, like, cortisol and melatonin are a chemical representation of day and night. and of what we're supposed to do during the day versus what we're supposed to do during the night. And when cortisol is elevated in a healthy manner during the day, it's going to drive a lot of other different processes in the body to perform at its optimal level. And same for melatonin. Many people think that melatonin is only a sleep hormone, but it's much beyond this. To name few things, it's one of the highest antioxidant in nature. Many people are very obsessed with taking antioxidants left and right, and they probably pay thousands of dollars to take antioxidant supplements. But hey, you have this technology called melatonin, which is the highest antioxidant in nature. Why don't you harness this technology first, and then you start worrying about which supplements you want to take? And optimizing your melatonin, there's no other way around getting morning sunlight during the day and blocking all artificial light at night.
That's
Now,
perfect. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just gonna jump into artificial light and blood sugar level. And interestingly, it has a lot to do with cortisol as well. And artificial blue light at night will really increase your cortisol. And since cortisol's role is to provide glucose to prepare your body for the flight and flight mechanism, which is very useful when you would be like in the forest facing a tiger. You would want this rush of cortisol and glucose into your muscles so that you can run fast and escape for your life. But then what happens when you're subconsciously receiving those messages because of blue light entering your eyes? It's going to increase your blood sugar levels, and it's going to lead you to all kind of sugar and carbs craving. So you'll be out of a sudden sitting on your sofa. It's 9 p.m. You're watching Netflix, and you get this like very strong rush to go open the fridge and start eating emotionally and maybe destructively most of the time. And this doesn't serve you because it's going to lead to cycles of guilt and shame, and it goes much deeper than only eating food. It has a lot of emotional associations with it. One of my friends, Dr. Sachin Patel, he always say that a chaotic blood sugar level is equal to a chaotic mind and chaotic emotions. And when our emotions are all over the place, we are much more likely to make bad decisions, to go into arguments with our loved ones. And we will have the tendency to make bad food decisions. So no matter how much you're getting coached on the best diet out there, when this junk light enter your eyes and subconsciously communicate to this ancient system in your body, it's gonna override your will. And it's really not about the will, because people think, well, I have a willpower. Willpower will often lead to strenuous results and will lead to shame and guilt. You really want to tap into the effortless way. And the effortless way is really understanding the technology that you are and how you work with your environment and working in conformity with this. And when you work with conformity in this, you're going to notice that you're not going to have those food cravings anymore at night. You're suddenly going to feel much more satisfied at a certain time of the day. You're not going to be thinking of all these different sugary and carby food all the time and feeling that they're dominating your mind, and that if you don't go and eat them, you just literally can't do anything else. You're going to start feeling more centered, more calm, and more in alignment. And most probably, you're going to replace those habits of eating at night with maybe meditating, imagining, and creating a better reality for yourself.
That's awesome. And I feel like we could do a whole podcast on using the mind to create a better reality, because I think that that's so powerful. But I do also, I think when I know for sure that I no longer, I mean, I have a sweet tooth. Don't get me wrong. I've got whatever that opioid pathway is in the brain. Like if sugar's in my environment, like I know it's like ding, ding, I know exactly where it is, but I don't get night cravings anymore because I wear my blue blockers, right? I put those on at sunset. and I block the cortisol. And so I think what you said is key, right? Cortisol is we're meant to have a hit of cortisol in the morning to wake us up. We're meant to get hits of cortisol if our survival basically is at risk. And so the body has the coolest thing to do, right? Like the liver on a whim in response to cortisol can make new blood sugar for us so that we can flee the tiger, so that if the tree branch falls on grandma, we can flip the tree branch off, so that we can, outrun, outfight any survival threat. And so simply, I mean, it sounds almost too good to be true, but by simply putting on my red ones, my red tone blue blockers, a couple hours before I want to go to bed, and mind you, my bedtime in winter in Michigan is between 7:30 and 8. Which feels great to me, right? And so I put your technology, right? I love it. I know you didn't know this beforehand, right? Like I purchased these probably before we actually connected, and love these 3-in-1 blue blockers. These are from your company, VivaRays, and I put the red ones on top of this, and there's no chance in a heck that I want to eat. Like my body doesn't think about food after I have those red ones on. It's a really, really fascinating experience. So with the time that we have left, share the technology, share about why you specifically chose. I love these 3-in-1s, right? And I'll probably put a link in the description to them because they're great. And what I have on are the ones that I use for looking at screens. And when I also have some other screen mitigation techniques, but these are more of a yellow tone. You have an orange tone and you have a red tone. I think there's a lot of confusion about what to use when. So if you can talk a little bit about your technology, I would love to hear it.
Yeah, totally. I'm going to share a little story because at the time when I was learning about all of this after my farming trip, I was desperately looking for a solution to have the freedom to live in a modern world while not compromising my sleep and mental health all the time. So I started learning about blue blocking glasses. Now, I don't like to associate with blue blocking glasses because I believe there's a lot of marketing gimmick and things in the market that do not work. I like to call our technology a 3-lens circadian lighting system technology. And I'm going to explain a little bit more why so. So when I discovered about blue blocking glasses, I went on right away and I bought 3 pairs for my partners in VivaRays and I to try. And after trying, they were clear blue light blocking glasses, by the way. And after trying them for a few weeks, we didn't experience any benefits whatsoever. And this drove me nuts. I'm like, why? Like, I'm blocking blue light. Am I supposed to feel at my best right now, like I was feeling in the farm? And what I actually discovered is those clear blue blockers were a marketing gimmick. They actually block blue light up to 420 nanometer in wavelength, which is not emitted by LED bulbs and screens. Those bulbs and screens, they start their emission at 430 nanometer and they peak at 455 nanometer in wavelength. So when you're wearing a clear blue light blocking glasses, it's like trying to rinse your quinoa in a pasta strainer. The quinoa will end up passing through the hose because you're actually using the wrong filter and they're not gonna work. And when so many people go on videos and they say, well, blue light blocking glasses are a marketing gimmick, yeah, there is a truth to this. And clear blue light blocking glasses, for instance, do not work. And I'm still surprised that many of the companies out there who are informed about this topic still sell clear blue light blocking glasses. I'm not sure why, but maybe it's making some money for them, but I don't think that's the ultimate goal, right? And at this point, when I learned about this, I heard about those orange tinted glasses. So I went on and I bought 3 pairs, and those somehow worked. But after some time, I started experiencing unexplainable drops of energy, and I didn't know why. And at this point, I felt really, really frustrated because I thought that by eliminating the blue light in my life, I will finally be at my optimal and really experience what I experienced on the farm. But what I realized then from studying and consulting some experts is that blue light is not bad at all. It's actually really good for us during the day because it stimulates our brain more than any other colors. It boosts our mood and our productivity. And when I learned this, I'm like, well, this is completely confusing. Like, how is it that blue light is good? And what it turned out is like blue light is not good or bad. Okay, people like to classify things and to put things in good and bad. Blue light is just like anything in nature, right? It just is. It's power that is flowing through and to us. And the secret of blue light is about what type of blue light that you're exposing yourself to, and also the time of the day that you're exposing yourself to it. Okay, so this became much easier when I thought about it from that perspective, because I realized that most of the blue light that we expose ourselves to come from human man-made light, which I call junk light. And I think junk light is much worse than junk food. It's literally the McDonald's of lighting. And this also explains why we could think as blue light as bad, because the blue light that we expose ourselves to is not balanced with the other colors, and it's not proportionate. There's no thing in nature that is like this, because the sunlight is very balanced, very symmetrical, and this generate beauty and love. And when we expose ourselves to beauty and love, we get a lot of energy. Whereas when you are sitting in front of your computer or under an LED bulb, its emission is completely unbalanced, it's not rhythmic, it's not symmetrical, and it creates problem. Most people sitting under blue light, they feel headaches, agitation, eye strain, eye fatigue. And this is literally because this 455 nanometer wavelength has been shown to be very degenerative to the cells. So when trying to block artificial blue light during the day, you want to think, or actually, let's put it that way. When trying to block blue light or artificial blue light, you want to think of two different things. What time of the day is it? And what am I exposing myself to? Okay, so when the answer is daytime and I'm exposing myself to screens and LED bulbs, you want to decrease the sharpness of this 455 nanometer wavelength. Now, there are so many glasses in the markets, they're yellow tinted. And I've tried those for so long, and I had some conversation with Dr. Samer Hidar, a circadian expert. And what I realized is that those yellow tinted glasses could be more harmful, it could cause more harm than good. And the reason why is because they are designed to block 100% of the blue light at 455 nanometer. And in the process of doing this, they wipe out all of the blue turquoise at 480 nanometer. And this frequency is extremely important during the day because it resets our circadian rhythm and help us to know that it's daytime. So when you're wearing these glasses and you're around windows, for instance, you're not getting this blue turquoise, and you're most likely to start feeling sleepy at the wrong time of the day. So this is why we made our daytime technology in a way that it transforms the blue light rather than it blocks it. And I don't want to be reductionist in the way I look at blue light. I don't want to eliminate that frequency. I want it to make it more proportionate and balanced with the yellow and green. And therefore, the daytime VivaRays glasses were born so that they could transform that blue, make it more proportionate and balanced with the green and the yellow. And they're also designed to allow you to absorb all the frequency, blue turquoise at 480 nanometers, so that you could maintain your energy level and not feel very sleepy and very drowsy. So that's for the daytime.
That's great. And I have noticed that, because I think, a lot of people collect shoes or purses or handbags and stuff. I've collected many blue blocking glasses, or I should say, your circadian technology, your lens technology. I've collected a lot of these over the years, and I love the VivaRays. I think for that exact reason, I don't feel eye strain. I don't feel fatigue. I still, whenever I can, I go outside, right? And I take these off, but these are wonderful, I think. And I didn't even know that. I didn't even know, because they allow some of that turquoise range in, but I can definitely notice, compared to all the yellow tinted ones I've ever worn, that these allow me to stay alert, energized, without any of those negative effects like you talked about eye strain, headache. And then comes evening, right? The sun goes down. What I have the orange, so this is magnetized, right? And I have the orange and I have the reds. Typically, Roudy, I clip on the oranges after sunset, or, shortly thereafter. So that I don't want to necessarily fall asleep. I don't put the red ones on because they're very potent, but the orange ones allow me to mitigate excessive blue light in my environment with the artificial blue light in my environment without feeling overly sleepy. So what about those the orange lens technology?
Yeah, I'll jump into the orange in a minute, but I got this idea that came to my mind. I think it's important to mention because I've been hearing many experts nowadays saying that, well, you need a lot of blue light during the day, and this is getting a little bit misinterpreted. Yes, you need a lot of blue light during the day, but from the sun. And when it comes to artificial blue light, you need to be careful. And Dr. Sashin, a functional medicine doctor, he started using our daytime technology. And interestingly, he shared with me a very interesting story that I thought you would appreciate. He uses a blood sugar monitor to track his glucose during the day. And after he started wearing the glasses consistently, he noticed that his blood sugar level after every meal was much more stable compared to before, even though he didn't change his diet. So literally his chronic exposure to imbalanced blue light from the screen and the bulbs was causing his blood sugar level to spike and crash, even though he was mastering his diet. And he's someone who really takes care and watches, monitor, and do all the things that he needs to do. So
Wow.
I thought you'd appreciate this.
That is amazing. I absolutely love that. Just another reinforcing factor that we assume that blood sugar has only to do with what we consume. And I, like you, think that there's way more to the story when it comes to light. So that's excellent. Thank you for sharing that. And so then the orange and the reds, right? What do you say? What people are going to say, when do I wear what, right? We're going to get that question.
Yeah, definitely. So I always tell people, around sunset, go watch the sunset. Directly, indirectly, it doesn't matter whether it's cloudy or not, it doesn't matter. You want to allow your eyes to witness this slowly fading light. And this enables your body to switch into winding down and slowing down so that you could prepare for restful night's sleep. So that when you come back from your journey of watching the sunset, you come back home, and most people are exposed to the second sun from their devices and from their bulbs. And this is where the evening glasses kick in, especially during the shorter days of the year in the winter, fall, and spring, because the sun is setting at 4, and you technically want a technology that still enable you to function. And therefore, we came up with the evening lens technology, which is designed and engineered to mimic the color temperature of twilight or the bonfire at 1800 kelvins. Okay, so I'm sure, Carrie, that you love bonfires. So how do you usually feel around a bonfire?
Oh, it's so soothing and calming. And it really feels like, I don't know. I mean, it feels great, right? But it's not in that energizing way. It's so soothing, right? Did you miss that? Did you miss out on that?
No, I heard you, but you were cutting off a little.
Oh, okay. So I'll just repeat. I was saying, so for me with bonfires, they are so soothing. They are, they feel good, right? There's just something about them that makes me feel really, really good, calm. They're, I don't know, like I wouldn't say they make me exhausted, but they definitely calm my system down, right?
Totally. And this is exactly what we were looking for when we were engineering the evening lens technology, because we were testing a lot of things in the market, and so many of them were blocking a lot of blue and a lot of green, which made people very sleepy and tired early in the evening. And it gets dysfunctional, and it started leading people to not wanting to wear their glasses whatsoever. So it was defeating the reason. And some other orange tinted glasses in the market weren't blocking enough blue at the 480, 490 range, which means it's going to keep you more stimulated than you would want to. So we designed this technology to mimic the color temperature of the bonfire, which means that we wanted people to feel relaxed, carefree, yet have enough energy to still cook, dance, socialize, and finish their evening tasks. Okay, and basically about 1 to 2 hours before you go to bed, you switch into the nighttime technology. And those are designed to block 100% of the blue and the green. But not only this, we thought about how can we add a feature to this technology so that it's literally decreasing brightness a lot, because bright light of any color could have also a negative effect on our sleep and circadian rhythm and the melatonin onset. So we designed this technology to decrease the brightness by 20 times, and this will really give the brain the impression that it's completely dark outside, and it will instantly start maximizing melatonin production. And that's why most people say that after they wear the nighttime red glasses, and within 30 minutes, 45 minutes, they're like yawning, drowsy, and super ready for bed.
That, you know what, you are so brilliant. I mean, the thought that you have put into this, that is exactly what I experience. I mean, that's perfect. So I mean, the oranges are soothing. I totally get it. The reds knock me out. I mean, I absolutely love it. And now it's so exciting to actually chat with you and hear all of the thought that went into this, and all of this it's beautiful. This technology is so good. So thank you. I mean, thanks for being awesome and sharing this with us. That's so fabulous. Yeah, I don't know, Roudy. I mean, I think we've gone over a lot. Is there anything else you want to touch on today? I mean, I'm totally open. It's up to you.
Well, there's a lot to touch upon. I mean, I wanted to talk a little bit about the winter season and why people tend to really suffer during this season and wanting to escape it, and why it has turned to a time of depression and sadness. But maybe we could keep this for another episode later in the future.
Yeah, absolutely.
And,
Absolutely. I think talking about winter and the seasonal shift and what we can do with our light environment to help recognize that it's not necessarily always going to be an end game where we have to get depression in the winter. There's things that can be mitigated to shift how we feel. I would love to do a deep dive into that with you. That'd be fabulous. Or maybe we could go on Instagram Live or something and do something. That'd be a lot of fun to chat about. So
yeah.
Roudy, if people want to learn more about all this, I'm going to put some links below, but share with us how they can get a hold of you if you're interested in having people contact you.
Yeah, first of all, I know that this seems a lot, and it's always great to have like a resource to come back to and ground yourself with. And this is why we've written a book called Light, the Key to Mastering Your Sleep and Energy. And this free resource, e-booklet, I would say, about 50 pages, you could finish it really quick. Yet it's designed to have all of this information really condensed with action plans that you can take today in order to start taking control over your light environment and elevating that light environment that you live in to a whole new level of alignment with nature. So I want to invite people to go on www.vivarays.com, VIVARAYS, where they can download this free ebook. And other than this, they could follow us on Instagram at VivaRays, where we share a lot of our educational material. And anytime you have any questions about anything related to light, quantum biology, circadian rhythm, our technology, and the glasses, please, we welcome all of your questions. Reach out to us. We love connecting with you. We love hearing your challenges, and we love figuring out how we can support you in those challenges. So don't hesitate to reach out to us on Instagram or at support@vivarays.com.
Awesome. And I hope people take you up on that, because having heard your story and just seeing where you are now, that's so motivating and so inspiring to so many people. So Roudy, thank you so much for sharing with us today. And thanks for being on the podcast. Really, really appreciate it.
Yeah, definitely. And I truly appreciate your passion, by the way. I think we need more passionate people in the field of quantum biology so that they could make it more fun and make it more interesting.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. Yeah, the more the better. Let's make this a movement that really changes people, huh? Good to see you, Roudy. Take care.
Good to see you.